What we really see now, it's that digitalization is accelerating. Things happen much faster than even us thought about before the COVID situation. And I'm here with Svein Tore Holseter, the CEO of Yara. And we are in very different businesses, but there are actually also similarities. We are both two global companies, headquartered here in Norway. We are both driven by a purpose larger than only the business. We want to influence societies. And I also think that we are both very focused on actually taking the opportunity now of an accelerated digitalization of businesses and societies. So Svein Tore, what are you doing basically? What is Yara doing, and how do you see the digital acceleration from your point of view?
Well, I think we're in the fourth agricultural revolution right now, and allow me to take a trip back in history to the very founding of our company, which was in 1905, 116 years ago. And the biggest problem that society faced at that time was famine. The Industrial Revolution led to a strong population growth, but the farmers were struggling to keep up with the food production. And that's because plants like us humans need nutrition, and the soil was being depleted of that nutrition. And then the challenge to the scientists around the world was to come up with a way to create fertilizer or crop nutrition to make the plants grow. And our founder, Birkeland, came up with the technology to harness nitrogen from the air. And the third agricultural revolution was driven by better inputs, better crop nutrition, better seeds, and better farming techniques. And now we're starting the fourth agricultural revolution driven by technology.
And we are not only talking about farmers in Norway now, we are talking about farmers in Africa and basically all over the world.
Every part of the world, but you know, being headquartered in Norway and working with Norwegian farmers has given me a lot of insight into what is farming going to look like in the future. Because if you look at the map and the location of Norway, in order to be a farmer here, you better be pretty advanced in using technologies. Whether it's autonomous tractors, sensor technology, and so on. So they're incredibly hardworking and have been early adopters of technology. But the rest of the world still has a way to go. So this is applicable everywhere.
Well, you talked about tractors and advanced technology of tractors. And I'm thinking about only this one. Yeah. So what is the kind of similarities here?
Well, you know, and that's you know, this thing is fantastic, because what this means is sharing of knowledge, making knowledge available to the many, empowering the farmers. And you know, with the smartphone now, a smallholder farmer can get access to knowledge and information that in the past would only be available to huge industrial size farms, and that's the great promise here, that we can help with technology to simplify the life of the farmer and have that continuous dialogue with the farmer.
And that's exactly what you have done, because you have developed an app on this one for the farmer.
Yes, and reminds me of what we did in April, May of last year, where we saw how the pandemic hit Africa very hard. And I spoke with David Beasley, the head of the World Food Program, and I asked him, what can we do from Yara? And he said, well, you make sure that your fertilizer moves out to the farmers to keep up the yields. And I told him, well, we can do better than that. Let's team up to move fertilizer out to the farmers. We donated 40,000 tons of fertilizer from Norway to our Norwegian plant to Africa, and handed that out to 250,000 farmers. But more than that, we also connected digitally with these farmers. And the combination of that fertilizer, the digital advice, is that these farmers grew enough food to feed an additional 1 million people a year, for a whole year. And on top of that, we grew that to be 2 million farmers. So 2 million farmers are in Africa now are digitally connected with Yara and getting that advice. So technology, it's fantastic.
Impressive. But a farmer in Africa, in rural Africa, is that farmer, how is that farmer using technology? Isn't that a very traditional way of doing agriculture?
It varies a lot. So you have everything from huge industrial farms to smallholder farmers, and yields differ a lot. And that's probably one of the things that have impacted me the most when traveling out, meeting the farmers and see what can be done with the right agronomic solutions, with the use of technology, the right crop nutrition, what an impact that can make. And it reminds me of when I was in Kenya not too long ago, outside Nairobi with a coffee farmer. He was also a teacher, and he was curious. He wanted to look at how he could improve his yields, and working together with our agronomists, using the right crop nutrition, using it at the right time, together with the right seeds and practices and so on. He was able to increase his yield 6 times. So it's not incremental, 6 times. And that's the difference between not growing enough food to get an income to feed the family, to feed the family and have excess product and to be able to sell that. And what happens then is that that allows the farmers to send their children to school, to build a house, and then it becomes very real. And that's a story across so many countries and so many people. There are 800 million people that go to bed hungry every night, and the sad fact is that a lot of them are farmers. So,
but I have read a lot about the stories that you also are telling on some of the social media. Social media channels, and you are coming at this not only from a productivity point of view, also actually from a climate point of view. So you want to use technology also to save or to reduce the climate emission. Talk about that.
Yeah, we have to because 25% of greenhouse gas emissions come from the food system. So
how much was that?
25%.
Yeah.
So it's one of the main contributors to global emissions. So you have to solve 2 things at the same time. First, you have to grow enough food to feed people, but you have to do it in a way that protects the planet as well. And that's our purpose, or the mission statement for Yara, is to responsibly feed the world and protect the planet. So it's this duality of growing food but doing it responsibly. First of all, it's the right thing to do, but I think also from a business perspective, it opens up different ways of selling both products and solutions. So it's the right thing for business as well.
And how is the kind of the pull and the pusher? You are pushing this because you are in the business. How is the pull factor from the farmers, from the industry as such?
Well, the farmers are very eager. The farmers want to improve their yields. They want to do the right thing for the environment. The problem is who's going to pay for it. And today, no one. So how do we create a marketplace to support the farmers in their mission to improve, and how can we do that throughout the whole value chain? And that's where we can play a role to create that transparency, the traceability of food, so that we can connect all the way to the consumers, so that there's a willingness to pay for food produced sustainably, so that they get that small premium. And it doesn't take much. And that's what both frustrates but also inspires me. If you take a cup of coffee, you go to the coffee store, probably downstairs here, pay $2.50 for a cup of coffee. How much of that do you think goes to the farmer of the coffee beans?
I don't know. 5%?
It's 1 cent.
1 cent?
1 cent. So imagine what you could do if we paid the farmer 2 cents. And I spent a lot of time with the farmers to talk about that. They don't want 2 cents unconditionally. They want 2 cents if they produce in a certain way to to support their farming practices. And if we're able to transfer that 1 cent so that you pay $2.51 for it, good. Today, this food system is so incredibly fragmented, silo thinking, and cost plus that by time that 1 cent reaches you, it's 30 cents, and then it's cost prohibitive. So that's what we need to do as a company as well, to think holistically, support the farmers. We can't put this burden on the farmers alone.
Then back to where I started when I said that what we see now is that technologies and digitalization is accelerating. And it's kind of when you see 5G, IoT, artificial intelligence, when these technologies are merging together. And I call it a perfect storm which really open up a lot of new opportunities. How does that work in your business model? And do you see it the same way?
It's a huge enabler, and for me, if we get this right, we could really simplify the life of the farmers significantly. And I remember speaking with the head of the South African Union of Farmers, and he was very clear in terms of his thinking around technology, is that use technology to solve the needs of the smallholder farmers, not create new needs. And that's been my North Star in thinking about how to apply technology, that we make the life of the farmers easier. It's an incredibly difficult job. They need to be experts in so many fields, so we can use that. Take weather, for instance. When do you put seeds in the ground? When do you fertilize and so on? That's very weather dependent. So if you can give through artificial intelligence or with 5G to give instant weather forecast, that helps the farmer. And today we have 3 million farmers on our farm weather app that gives hyper-local weather and helps them. So it's about putting all of this together and simplifying.
And we are actually working together, I think, in one of our markets and your market in Thailand, where we actually have that farmer app doing some of the stuff that you are talking about now.
Yes, and I'm glad we're doing that, because Sigve, and what we need to reflect on as well is, we're sitting here at your headquarters now. My headquarters is 5 kilometers away.
Yeah.
And it's only now when we really at scale do something together, when we're both international companies. We're operating in so many of the same countries. We have complementary skills. Why haven't we done that at scale already? But hey, we're doing it now, and I think that fits very well with the Sustainable Development Goals, number 17, partnership for the goals, untraditional partnerships, and that's how we bring this together and where we can do something at scale. So hopefully we will now see that we're going to connect with millions of farmers together.
That's the same way we are seeing it, because we see that these new technologies are not only giving you an opportunity, it also requires partnership to a much larger extent than we have seen in the past, where we basically operated our business or value chain ourselves. Yeah. And in addition to that, you also see that all big global companies now are driven by some of the sustainability goals. Yeah. Where kind of you use those also to drive your business. So I think that's why we actually are sitting here, because now that new technologies in itself is kind of forming these new type of business models and new type of partnership models.
Exactly.
Just one question on the more technology in the COVID time. How do you see that? How has for example, yourself as a leader, have you changed the way you use technology now the last 1.5 years due to COVID and a different way of working?
Absolutely. It's a huge change, actually. And the use of say digital meetings and video conferences, it's radically changed in the matter of a year. It would have probably taken a decade to do it under normal circumstances, but when we're forced, we have no other option, then that's the new.
But will it go back to the old normal, or will it, is this changed forever?
It's changed forever, but I think we'll find something in between, because there are certain things that you can't replicate digitally. I think, after all, we are human beings, and it is something about the creative process and getting groups together to be on the whiteboard and do the thinking together that I find very difficult to get sort of the same experience digitally. So we'll find something in between, but imagine all the unnecessary travel that we've done in the last few years. So we will not go back to. I'm sure we will not go back to the old way of doing business.
Just the last question. Now we have talked about all the new opportunities that comes along with the new technology. But would you agree that with these new technologies, you are also actually lowering the barriers to enter new businesses? Could that mean that new players are coming into your field and your business because the barriers are lower, and actually you also get new competitors and you to think differently because of that?
Yeah, we have to think completely different around that. That's also an opportunity, and one that we are grabbing now. That we have started up new businesses that in the past would be seen as being outside the core, so we don't move into it. We're working now on something called the Agoro Carbon Alliance, which is a carbon marketplace where we together with the farmer have use the field of the farmer to sequester carbon, and then monetizing that on a marketplace for companies that need offsets, for instance. In the past, perhaps that would have been seen as something outside the core. Yeah. Now we're moving into that business, and we're now also started a company on hydrogen, Yara Clean Ammonia, which is a way to both store and transport hydrogen in an efficient manner. So that's also a new business. So we're starting up new businesses, but at the same time we have to be aware that we have 116 years of history where it's been fairly easy to identify who our competitors are. Yeah. That's no longer the case. Now it could be from different industries and new startups and so on. That's something we need to be aware of. But
how do you do that in practice? Because this is something we're also trying to do, to kind of move a little bit outside what used to be your core business. But it's actually very hard to do that because you come with 100 years and for Telenor 180 years history. Yeah. A lot of legacy, a lot of knowledge about exactly what have brought you success up to today, and then to go into different type of businesses and even more challenging, more startup type of businesses, and then to merge that into your kind of mothership. How do you do that in practice?
Well, I think it's important to build everything on history, and if you then go back to 1905 when we were started as a fertilizer company, that was a completely new business. It was a huge bet not only for Yara but for the nation in terms of the investment that was made. That created a fertilizer business that over time turned into a conglomerate of many businesses, whether that's in oil and gas and aluminium and in Norsk Hydro. So you have growing a lot of businesses out of that one great idea. So we have a history, but as you say, over 100 years you evolve as well. So it is a mindset and creating the urgency and the agility to move when we see opportunities now.
Just on the mindset part, because things happen so much faster now than they did in the past. So kind of 5 years plans are less useful now than they used to be. And it's actually more about picking a direction and then trying to move and change and adapt as you go. And you need to be even better to look around the corner on what is coming, but also what opportunities are. So it is a different way. It requires a different type of leadership.
Yeah, and one where we dare to fail. Because if you're so afraid of failing that we don't dare to take decisions, that's a sure way to failure, I believe. So I'm trying to communicate that very clearly in the organization as well, that it's okay to try, fail, and then we learn and then we move on. But if we're going to be afraid and be stuck to this 5-year horizon planning, we're not going to be able to move fast enough to survive. So and failure starts with me. I made several wrong decisions, but okay, as long as the total of it is positive, then it's fine. You know, we have to accept that. So that's something we need to always focus on in the organization.
Very interesting conversation, Svein Tore. And even though you are in the farmer business or the agriculture business, and we are in the telecom business, there are a lot of similarities. So I think similar for both of us. It's technology gives new opportunity. It does require more partnership, and at the same time, you are solving some of the big global issues, sustainability issues. Thanks a lot for the conversation.
Thanks a lot, Sigve.
Thank you.